as I've got older, I thought, right, it's funny to like poke fun at people and stuff like that.
But you don't know what they're going through.
You don't know what they're going through.
I totally agree with that.
And I've been in some real low places and stuff. Like I'm very lucky. I wouldn't say I've ever had depression, but I've been in some states basically. Yeah. And football Twitter and that have been giving me shit on Twitter, and I've bitten back in that because I'm going through other stuff in my life.
Yeah, that they don't know about.
Yeah. So I just felt like too much of a social conscience after a while. Too much of a conscience to be picking up on what Jeremy Lynch said to Stephen Tries at the Wembley Cup.
Yeah, interesting. So it's interesting looking at how you develop that. Do you mind us talking about some of that? Because obviously I talk quite openly, but I've had my own battles with mental health in the past. I know that you've spoken about that. You suffer from OCD and health anxiety. Is that right? Can you just explain a bit about what both are for those? Because I think it's important to educate people who might not know exactly what they are.
Yeah.
And also how that affects you in day-to-day life.
So health anxiety is just an offshoot of OCD. Obsessive compulsive disorder, which I found out probably about 13 or 14 years old that I have. It's when you obsess over things that essentially aren't real. So with my health anxiety, probably about 10 times a day I'll go through these little moments in my head in which I sort of float away and believe that I've got a terminal illness. Mine's
about 10 times a day?
Yeah, probably more than that really. Wow. At the time of recording this, I'm actually doing quite good, but that fluctuates. But so where I think it stems from is, so I started doing therapy last year, and I had a great therapist, and we got to the bottom of a lot of stuff. Now, obviously, the relationship with my mum, that probably don't need to go over again, but my granddad, who we've spoken about, he got quite ill. He got septicemia. He was in a car accident, and his leg got infected. And I got home from school one day, and my mum said, "Oh, your granddad's ill. He's in hospital." So I just went in this zombie-like state where I just walked to the hospital because I didn't know what to do. Got back see him. He went in a good way. Got back home that night. Had a photo of me and him in my room holding me as a baby, and I went and I kissed it 13 times. My lucky number's 13.
Right.
Don't know why. And I kissed it 13 times, and I woke up and it was as if by magic that he was better. Like it was probably over the space of a few days, but it felt pretty quick. Yeah. And then something triggered in my brain, and I was like, "It's because of that. It's because of that. Really? It's because I did that." Yeah. So I then had to do everything 13 times. I couldn't stay at my mate's house at school because I couldn't kiss the photo. Because if I don't kiss the photo, my granddad's gonna die. In my head, and that's and then when I was probably about 15, I found a lump on my testicles. That freaked me out. This was about 10 p.m. at night, so I couldn't get to the doctors until the next day. And I remember the fear that I had for that night. I didn't sleep. I was like, "I've got cancer. I'm going to die." And I think in that moment, that triggered me. That was the start of it. I had to go 12 hours just believing that I had this illness and that I was going to die. I was crying and all this stuff. And I went to the doctors. Doctor checked it out, said it was a cyst, fine. But something changed in me that day, and I was like, from that moment on, I then have this like extreme health anxiety. But if I can just say quickly on the topic, I did Diary of a CEO with Steve Bartlett a year or so ago, and I spoke about this for the first time publicly because I've also had like not issues, but I've also like I would drink quite a lot at some points because it would be too much in my head, and I'd find that when I'd get pissed with my mates, I'd forget about it, and that would be such a relief. It would come back twice as bad the next day, but you don't worry about that in the moment. But what I will just say that I haven't really put out there, 3 weeks ago, I went to the toilet, and there was a lot of blood in the toilet bowl, and for someone who has health anxiety, that is the worst feeling. It's probably not a nice feeling for anyone. Yeah. But that was that sent me. I've been in such a positive headspace this year, and I've been absolutely flying in my social life and everything. I've been so happy, and that sent me. And I come out of the toilet, and I was white as a ghost, and I thought I was going to faint. And Fiona knew something was up, and I said, "Look, this has happened." She went, "You've got to go doctors," because something I haven't mentioned, but I then had from that early time again to doctors. I can't go doctors.
Right. Because that triggers you again.
Yeah, I can't go. Okay. If it's for anything, like I went to the hospital in December because I smashed my ear in a football game and it blew up. Right, I could go because I knew that's not going to be cancer. There's no way that can be. But if it's anything like, oh, I got a toothache, I think is that gum disease? Have I got gum cancer? It's that.
Right. Okay.
So I remember I come out the toilet 4 weeks ago, and I told Fiona this. She said, "You got to go." I said, "So I can't call him. I can't make that appointment." And she's always pleading with me to go and stuff. And I said, "If you can make the appointment, I'll go." And so she made the appointment, and I went and had an exam and had to send a stool sample away and stuff. And I was terrified the whole week, and I played it down to my mates like, I'm good, but in my head I was losing my shit. Excuse the pun.
Wrong pun at the wrong time, but I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And then a week or so ago I got the call and they said it's all fine, and then they said yeah, and I don't know, but touch wood, that has helped me so much in my head, not just the fact that I'm all right in that aspect, but that is like a weight lifted now. That is like
for other stuff going forward.
That is like confirmation that like shit, if you do just go and get tested, or you do have a worry, or you do find a lump down there or wherever, I think I can do it now. I think I can tackle it. I think I can go to the doctors. I can get that confirmation. Because my worry was always, if I go and I have a test, they're going to tell me that you've got 6 months.
So you'd rather avoid going
I'd rather just die then, peter out, which is insane, right? And I don't mean to use that word to be crass, right? I'm just using it flippantly. But that was such a weight lifted. So anyone out there with health anxiety and stuff, I know how hard it is to go and break down that barrier. I used to say to Fee, it's like when the shops close at night and they shut down that barrier. It's like getting that barrier open is impossible. Yeah. But if you can just get a crowbar under it and lift that barrier up, like I'm walking on clouds now. Like I'm got such a new, like I'm buzzing.
And that's because you went. I think that's great advice for people that people listen to this. Surely, I imagine that have health anxiety that might have similar issues that you have, not wanting to go. But that's great that you said that. I hope other people can take that on board. And if they do have something, always best to get it checked out.
100%. And the final thing I would just quickly say, if you don't mind, is and just because I was able to do that, doesn't mean it's fixed everything. Like my thing is still like testicles and whatnot. Like that's my main crux, my main health anxiety. And is
that because of the lump that you found?
Yeah,
so that still triggers.
Yeah, I struggle to touch that area of my body
at all.
Yeah, it's strange. I heard Carl Pilkington say that on an old Ricky Gervais XFM podcast, and they laughed at him. Right, it was a different world back then. I don't think they meant anything by it. But they were like, that's crazy, Carl. Right, and I related to that so much. I was like, that is me. Now, because I sorted the other issue out, I'm still not completely there in terms of that aspect. So I'm not just saying like, look at me, I'm fixed. I still have the issues, but if I can do that first step, that will eventually go on to help me sort it all out, then these guys can do it as well.
Mate, it's amazing you talk like that, because I can't relate to any of that in terms of a condition, but I'm a type 1 diabetic, and it's like I had huge issues with mental health and anxiety at the time of diagnosis and for the few years after, and I wasn't telling anyone, injecting in private, all the worst things you can do when your blood sugar fluctuates daily like mine does. I'm in such a good place now because I opened up, because I talk to people, because I do stuff with charities, and I'm standing on stage talking about it. But it doesn't mean you don't have bad days at all. And I think that's what you're saying. Health anxiety, you've still got that, and people still need to understand that. Because people say to me, oh, you're fine now, right? All sorted. It's like, well, not for the rest of my life. I just happen to be in a good place today. So I can relate to that massively. I wanted to ask you how you've been very honest and open talking about those conditions. I think that's going to help a lot of people as well. So firstly, thank you for talking like that. How do you deal with doing what you do and being in the public eye? Not just being in the public eye, but being in the public eye, where you can literally see what people are saying about you in the comments section, with health anxiety, with OCD, and with the battles you've had with your mental health. Is that triggering for you, or does that work the other way because it's your passion? You can actually focus on things, because it must be quite difficult.
I get a lot of shit because I give a lot of shit out. So like I can only expect it the other way, but like banter or whatever. It used to get to me a bit, but like I said, being a ginger kid from a council estate, you learn to get thick skin early on. So if most of the things people say about me, like I genuinely do find it funny. Like, like, oh, your teeth are too big or whatever. Like I've heard it all. Right? So there's nothing you can say that is gonna get under my skin.
It's interesting though, because you've mentioned your teeth, your hair colour a few times now. It's almost like you've created this barrier where, well, if I take the piss out of myself first, no one will take the piss out of me.
That's the best defence. If you get in there before they can, simple as that. So I remember like the times when it has affected me is when I kind of like believe it a bit. So if someone goes, "You're not funny," I think, well, I think I am. So it don't matter. But like when I got with Fiona, like my fiance, when I got with her 8 years ago, I used to think she was way too good for me, and I still think that now. And I would get comments like, "Oh, he's punching," like, "Oh, he's."
That's a compliment, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But at the time, when I was really insecure, I was like hiding the keywords "punching" on my YouTube channel. Like, don't show me that. Don't show me that. But now I am so confident. At 30 years of age, I'm so confident and happy with who I am that you can say whatever you want, and I genuinely, wholeheartedly, 100% do not care.